Have you ever considered buying suspension for your car, but nobody's ever been able to give you an honest, real-world, and track-proven experience with it? This time on Low Boost, I'm going to go over my experience with the Dinan springs and progressive bump stops on my BMW M235. The BMW M235 is one of the best bangs for the buck that you can get right now. However, a lot of people will argue that you should get an M2 instead. But in most cases, it's almost double the price. There are some things you can do to this car to actually improve the handling and performance to get it a little bit closer to an M2, and that's what the Dinan springs do. If you're even watching this video right now, you are thinking, why would I even consider getting Dinan springs when I can get full coilover suspension like you can in a lot of other cars? And in a lot of other cars, that is the case. And I really suggest getting full coilover suspension over springs in most cases. However, with these new BMW cars that have adjustable ride control and adjustable dampening from the factory, you really have to spend a lot of money to get the right suspension that'll actually match up with that. This goes for not just the M235, but any of the M models, M2, M3, M4. They all have adjustable dampening. And if you just get coilover suspension, you'll actually lose all that great technology that BMW included when you bought your car. Getting springs in this instance is going to increase your spring rate and give you a little bit more progressive dampening progressive springs towards the end of the limit of your car, but it still is not going to sacrifice the great technology that comes with the adjustable dampening that you would get in an M2 or an M235. My first few track days that I did with this car, I actually didn't even get close to hitting the limit, so it wasn't really even a big deal for me because I was getting better and better at driving the car. But as I was able to approach the limit of the car, I could tell that the car was on the bump stops going around turns, and it really started to understeer where I really should be coming out of the turns at the track. And I felt like maybe getting something that had a little bit of a stiffer spring would help with that. As you could see from some photos that I'm going to put up here, going around some of the turns on the stock suspension, the car was leaning hard. It had a lot of body roll, and that's because the stock springs just can't keep up with what I'm asking the car to do. Now, if you have an M2, not only does it have the stiffer springs, but the whole car is stiffer. It's got different bracing here, underneath. The actual cardboard piece that sits underneath the car is actually steel in an M2. And I got the opportunity to drive an M2 and really see the difference even with this car with Dinan springs, and it doesn't even compare. An M2 is a lot stiffer. It is a better track car. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I was even skeptical, thinking it's not really going to be that much of a difference. It's almost the same car. It really isn't, especially also it's wider. This episode is brought to you by Extreme Powerhouse. Whether you got a BMW, an Audi, a Ford Mustang, make sure you check them out. They got a ton of performance parts. And if you go on there and use my coupon code LOWBOOST, all one word, you get access to some extra special discounts. There are a lot of other springs you can get outside of Dinan springs that could be beneficial for you as well. But for me, I wanted something that was also, in addition to lowering the car a little bit, which gives you some nice looks, has the track-proven performance, and that's what Dinan does. Dinan springs also don't lower the car as much as Swift springs or H&R springs do, so the drivability on the street is going to be a little bit better. Now, pause for you stance boys. If you really want the car to be stanced, you really don't want to track the car. The two things do not go together. But this does lower the car 1 inch to 1.5 inches. It has a better profile. These are stock tires, Michelin Pilot Super Sports, on the stock wheels, and you can see it does sit a little bit lower than the car did when it was stock. Even though Dinan only claims these springs are 10 to 15% stiffer than the stock ones, it is a noticeable difference on the street, and I do feel a lot more bumps than I normally do. However, the trade-off for the improved handling and stiffness was totally worth it. And even on the track, because the Dinan bump stop kit that I got that is separate from just the springs are progressive, which will allow a little bit more rebound and softening before you actually hit the actual limit of the bump stop where you have no more suspension travel anymore, having that progressive feel to it allows you to go a little bit harder in the turns before you're actually on the bump stops and the car starts to understeer. Now, it's still understeered at the limit, but my limit got maybe 10 to 15% further than the stock springs did. And in terms of performance, the best time that I ever got on the stock springs at the track that I go to all the time was 144.75. And I took almost a complete second off with this. My best time with these Dinan springs were 143.75. I'm gonna say some of that had something to do with me driving better. Maybe it could have been different conditions, but a second on a track that's 2.1 miles long is pretty considerable. And I really felt like I even could go even faster if I drove it a little bit more often on there. I did make one very big mistake as I was trying to upgrade this car. I bought M3 lower control arms, and that actually changes the camber of the car a little bit, but it also changed the caster when I did not know that was going to happen. So it actually pushed the wheel this way, and at the track I ended up pushing my fender out a little bit, as you can see there. But my tire is chopped. Lip got hit by the own tire. There's chunks of it flying off, but I didn't hit anything. I didn't go off. I don't know. My day is done. I was able to bend it back, and I still got to do some more massaging to try to get it out. But it did mess up the car a little bit, so I took the lower control arms out and put the stock ones back. I did find out, and it's a rumor, now don't quote me on this, if you get the M3 tension struts in the front, it actually will adjust the caster back on the car, but I did not do that, and I suffered the consequences. So don't make the same mistake I did, or just don't get them at all. Just the Dinan springs themselves was a considerable improvement for me. Now, if you're not going to get Dinan springs and you want to get the real deal coilover upgrade, you're going to need to go with KW V3 Coil Overs for the car. It will allow you to still use the stock electronic dampening that the BMWs, like the F-Series cars like this, come with, but it's going to come at a premium. Those are like $4,000, and for me, spending that much money to upgrade the suspension on this car wasn't going to be worth it, and I didn't plan on keeping the car forever, so I decided not to do that, and that was why I went with the Dinan springs. Now I am selling the car, but I'm selling it with the Dinan springs included, just because I think it does give the car a little bit better stance, and it definitely better performance. So I mean, I still have the stock springs if I want to put them back on. They weren't hard to install. I did a video on it, and I'll put a link in the description below to the install video for this car, and check that out. If you guys like cars, make sure you subscribe to me here on YouTube. I upload a video every week about cars, whether it's my M235, my C5 Corvette track car, my BMW E36 Turbo LS swap, or one of the many projects that I'm doing with my dad, and some car features and videos and stuff with my friends. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. I also have a ton of BMW content on the M235, so I'll put a link in the description to some of the other videos that I have, but I also got a chance to drive this car back to back with an actual BMW M2 and give my honest opinion on the difference between those two cars as well. I'll be sure to keep on uploading videos about this car, even probably after I get rid of it, because I'm probably getting another BMW as well. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.